for Mr. Roy. The GAO released a report on the Affordable Care Act, which was very negative, a lot of fraud. And when they looked, they had fictitious applicants, and 23 out of 24 fictitious applicants were approved for the subsidized ACA coverage. What does that tell you about the basic integrity of the whole system, the whole plan, and could you comment on that?
Sure. So obviously the GAO report is very alarming in terms of the lack of program integrity. I would say that there are certain things the executive branch just has to do better, right? There needs to be better program integrity in terms of verifying people's eligibility for the ACA subsidies. Having said that, one of the biggest problems with the design of the ACA is that when you sign up for coverage in the ACA, you're asked to estimate your future income, your future monthly income, and the subsidies that you get are calculated based on your own future estimate of your future income. It's basically a kind of an honor system. So people have a lot of incentive to say, well, I'm not going to make any money next month or the month after that, and then you get a bigger subsidy. A simple fix for that would be to base the ACA's income-based subsidies on last year's income, your actual tax return, or your actual verified income from the previous tax year. If you do that, yes, it's not going to be as precise as maybe what your income is in the current year, but you're going to eliminate a lot of that honor system-based fraud that we see today. So that's a simple fix that it seems to me would do a lot to address the program integrity issues with the ACA.
Okay. GAO, they reported that $21 billion in advance premium tax credits were not reconciled with IRS tax data. I think you kind of answered this, but from a taxpayer perspective, how serious is this failure?
I mean, again, it's serious that you're not verifying people's identity and things like that. That's very concerning. And so that needs to be fixed for sure. And again, Congress doesn't, in theory, need to pass a statute to do that. The executive branch should be able to do it on its own. That's what ideally DOGE was all about, right? And hopefully DOGE has instituted some modernized IT systems to address some of this. But I do think that the statutory flaw in the ACA is really, really important to fix, because so long as you're relying on my honor to kind of tell you what my future income is, and even if I'm being honorable, I may misestimate my income, because people whose incomes are in the 100, 200, 250 FPL range, their incomes are often volatile because they don't have steady employment. They're going on kind of freelance income. It goes up and down. They're flipping back and forth between Medicaid and the ACA as well. Their health care, as a result, is very unstable because their provider networks change and their insurance changes if they're below 100 FPL one month and above 100 FPL the next month. So this is something we can fix by two things. One, what I mentioned already, which is going by the prior tax year's income. And the second would be to actually migrate Medicaid enrollees that are able-bodied into the ACA exchanges, because that way there's one government program that they're enrolled in, and their plan can stay the same even if their income goes up or down. That means their provider network will stay the same, their insurance coverage will stay the same, and it's hard enough being poor without having to deal with different insurance plans depending on what your income is month to month. So that seems to me, again, something that's not that ideological, that would ensure that everybody has high-quality coverage, it would improve healthcare outcomes, and it would reduce costs to the federal government, to the taxpayer, by over $100 billion over 10 years, we estimate, because today, covering people on the ACA Medicaid expansion is more expensive than covering them on the ACA private insurance marketplaces.
Okay. GAO identified tens of thousands of subsidies paid using Social Security numbers associated with people who already died. What does that suggest about CMS's coordination with Social Security Administration or the IRS? And just again about
obviously the coordination needs to improve. That's really important. And anytime you're going to have a government program in healthcare, there's going to be waste, fraud, and abuse. The estimate is that waste, fraud, and abuse in Medicare is well over 10%, and Medicaid is possibly over 30%, and the ACA, who knows what the percentage is. So there's always going to be waste, fraud, and abuse in these programs, and it's important to crack down on it. And again, we rely on the executive branch to try to tackle some of that, and you guys can obviously play a constructive role in that. But the main thing that I would continue to emphasize is what are the design flaws in the statutes that really expand the room for waste, fraud, and abuse. And that's where I think we can do a lot of good in this committee.
One general